But if you go to some cave and take this paint and spray it on your hand, maybe somebody 40,000 years from now will discover it and know something about you. What we do know by analyzing these ancient handprints is that many of them, maybe even most of them, were done by teenagers and children. So maybe it was a kind of thing that young people do, the grown-ups thought that this is ridiculous, and why do you waste your time or your paint on this? But now we have them, 40,000 years later.
Hola, Yuval. Soy profesora y me llamo Patricia. Tu primer libro, Sapiens, sigue siendo uno de los libros más vendidos del mundo. Me encantaría que compartieras con nosotros cuál fue tu idea principal y por qué crees que ha llegado tanto a la sociedad.
My basic aim in that book, which is also my basic aim with the Unstoppable Us. I mean, Sapiens was for grown-ups, for adults, and Unstoppable Us tries to do the same thing for kids aged, say, 8 or 10 or 12. It's really to tell in one book in an accessible way, in a way that it's easy to understand and even fun, to tell the entire history of us, of our species, of humans, from the time that we were really just animals, apes, living in the African savannah, not much different from zebras or chimpanzees or giraffes, until today, until the 21st century, when we are really almost like gods, that we have divine powers of creation and destruction. We can fly in the air, we can blow up entire cities, we can create new types of life with genetic engineering, with artificial intelligence. So the big question is, how did this ape from the African savannah, how did it turn into a kind of god that now controls the whole world and controls even the future of all the other animals? Maybe we don't see ourselves as gods, but if you think about us from the viewpoint of a chimpanzee or of an elephant or of a rat, we do look like gods in what we can do. So that's the main aim. And I think it had success partly because people want to know our story. And also because I always try to connect the distant events of the past to people's life today. A lot of people, they find history sometimes boring or irrelevant. They think, oh, history is this list of all these dead kings who lived thousands of years ago and fought wars and battles. What do I care about them? How are these kings related to my life? But I think the point about history is to understand how events in a very distant past still shape how we live and how we feel even today. So for instance, when I was a kid, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes afraid that there is a monster under the bed or there is a monster in the room. It sometimes still happens to me even today. And why does it happen? And it's not something wrong, and if it happens to you too, it's not something wrong about you. It's actually a memory from the very distant past. It actually comes from history. Because hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we were animals, apes living in the savannah, there were actually monsters that came to eat kids in the middle of the night. You were sleeping under some tree somewhere in the savannah, and a cheetah or a lion would come to eat you. And if you woke up, you heard some noise and you woke up and you called your mom or you climbed a tree or something, you survived. If you didn't, if you kept sleeping, the lion ate you. So the people who survived are the people who were afraid of monsters in the dark. And this was such a deep fear that, our bodies, we now live in a big city like Madrid with computers and air conditions and airplanes and supermarkets, but our body doesn't know it. Our body still thinks that we are in the African savannah and that there are monsters that might come to eat us in the middle of the night. So when it hears some strange noise, it wakes up. Maybe a lion is coming. And other things about our life Again, we need to understand the past. And if you go along the African savannah, all those years ago, and you find a fig tree with lots of sweet figs, the best thing you can do for yourself, your body, is to eat as many of them as quickly as possible, because this is very rare to find all these sweet fruits. If I eat just 2 figs and say, okay, that's enough for me, I go back, I come tomorrow, I eat some more figs. When I come back tomorrow, there are no figs, because the baboons who live next door, they came in the night and they ate all the figs. So the good thing to do if you want to take care of your body, eat as many of them as possible. And our body learned, you come across something very sweet, eat as much of it as quickly as possible. Or you now live, again, in the middle of Madrid in the 21st century, and you open the refrigerator and you find a sweet cake. Your body doesn't know that this is Madrid in the 21st century. Your body still thinks, I'm in the African savannah, I found some sweet fruits. If I don't eat all of it right now, the baboons will eat it. So I better eat all of it right now. And it's not that there is something wrong with it. This is how it lived, the body, for so many years. And it's such a short time since we left the African savannah and moved to live in these big cities with refrigerators and supermarkets and sweet cakes. And if we understand history, it in this way helps us understand so many things about how we actually live and feel right now.
Hola, Yuval, soy Javier. En uno de tus libros dices que debemos aprender a dominar la inteligencia artificial antes de que ella nos domine a nosotros. En este sentido, en tu opinión, ¿cuáles son los pros y los contras? O, en otras palabras, las amenazas y las oportunidades que la inteligencia artificial puede suponernos.
The invention, the creation of AI is maybe the most important invention of humans, certainly in the 21st century, maybe ever. AI can do many good things for us. It can help us discover new medicines. It can help us find ways to deal with the ecological crisis, how to save electricity, so many things. But it can also destroy us. And we need to understand that AI is different from every previous invention in human history. Because you hear sometimes people say, well, yes, AI it's a new thing, but every time there is a new invention, people are worried. When people invented the car, when people invented the printing press, when people invented writing, there are always worries, oh, how would we manage? But AI is different in 2 very important respects. First of all, it's the first invention, the first tool, the first technology in human history that can make decisions by itself. Every previous tool we invented, it made us more powerful because the decision how to use the tool was always made only by humans. When people invented a knife, a stone knife, tens of thousands of years ago, the stone knife cannot decide what to do with it. You can use a stone knife to murder somebody. You can use it to save their life in surgery. You can use it to cut salad. The knife doesn't tell you what to do with it. Similarly, when people invented even nuclear technology, you can use nuclear technology to destroy humankind, to bomb cities and countries. You can use nuclear technology to produce cheap and plentiful electricity that helps humanity. Nuclear reactors by themselves, they don't tell you what to do with them. You decide. AI is different. AI can make decisions by itself. It's already making decisions, not only about itself, also about us. Increasingly, it's not a human being deciding what will happen with you, it's an AI. Similarly, again, if you watch, I don't know, YouTube, then it's not a human being that decides which video to show you next. It's an algorithm, it's an AI making these decisions. And we have never encountered something like this before. And it takes power away from us. The other thing that AI is different from every previous technology, it can create new ideas by itself. The printing press could not create new ideas. Somebody wrote a book, I don't know, Cervantes wrote Don Quixote, you take it to the printing press prints it. It cannot write Don Quixote by itself. It cannot write a commentary about Don Quixote. No, it just does blindly whatever you tell it. Similarly, radio. So, okay, we invent radio. The radio cannot decide what to play, whether rock and roll or a classical symphony, whether a speech by some general or whatever. We have to decide what the radio plays. AI can create texts and music and paintings and images and videos by itself. So maybe in just a very few years, we will live in a world in which most decisions are not taken by humans, in which most stories are not told by humans, in which most images are not painted by humans. We have no idea what this means. We are used to living in a world in which humans make the decisions, and all our culture is human culture. And this is something completely alien, which we do not understand. Now, it's not necessarily bad. It can also, of course, make good decisions. It can also make good stories or good creations. But the basic thing to understand is that it's the first time in history that really power is being taken away from us, shifting to something alien, not an alien from outer space for another planet, but it's still alien. Thinks, it makes decisions, it creates things in a fundamentally different way than human beings. And we might be very close to a point when we can no longer understand the world in which we live, because it will be increasingly run by an alien intelligence we don't understand and full of things that we didn't create. How many people in the world really understand finance? Maybe 1% of people, if we are very generous. Maybe in 20 years, the number of people who understand the financial system, the number of people who understand money is exactly zero. That AI took over, not only making more and more of the decisions, like money is a cultural creation. We printed these paper notes. We decided what is electronic money. You know, all these new cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, they are cultural creations. What happens if AI invents new kinds of money that we don't understand? So we will be like the chimpanzees and the elephants, dealing with something we can't understand, which is much, much more powerful than us. And this is not, thousands of years in the future. This can happen within 10, 20 years. So again, there are also good scenarios, but we need to make wise decisions right now about AI when we still have the power to make the decisions, because if we wait, it will make the decisions for us.
Hola, Yuval, me llamo Lidia, curso segundo de la ESO, y quería preguntar, en tu libro hablas sobre la juventud como el eslabón más como indefenso de la sociedad. ¿Podrías hablarnos un poco sobre ese tema?
Yeah. When I said it's the weakest link, I meant it from the viewpoint of the people who tell the big stories that run society, like the stories about money, or the stories about God, or the stories about politics, that, with the adults, with people who are like 40, 50, 60, they heard the stories so many times that they hardly even think about them anymore. I mean, adults use money all the time. When is the last time that you think about what actually is this money? But children, in this sense, are the weakest link in society because it's all new to them. They haven't heard the story about money or the story about God many times. And they still ask questions. What is this thing? Why should I believe it? Why should it be like this and not like that? And that makes it, from the viewpoint, again, of the people who tell these big important stories, if something changes, it will probably come from the children, from the younger generation, because they are still not very convinced of our stories.